Welcome to the NFL Saturday podcast. This is Amp, and I'm here to catch you up with fantasy football for the week, and we'll have some fun along the way. Let's talk about week 3 today, and the players that I think you should panic about. I am sorry I missed last week. Unfortunately, I was actually visiting my family, so I was unable to record. But we're back, so we made it. First, before getting into the episode, I want to give you your fun fact of the day. In honor of Joe Flacco throwing for 155 pass attempts in 3 weeks, the QB that threw the most pass attempts in an NFL game was Drew Bledsoe in 1994. He was on New England at the time and beat the legend Warren Moon and the Minnesota Vikings 26-20 in overtime. He was 45 for 70. He threw 70 passes, and he got 426 yards on 3 TDs. 3 receivers on the team also had 10 catches or more. Now, let's talk about week 3 and the players to panic about. First, let's start with QBs. And I'm going to start with one that hurts me personally because I drafted him in multiple places, and that's Russell Wilson, aka Mr. Limited. The coaching looks terrible, but Wilson also seems off. I'm still holding on to some hope, as much as I can at least, because I'm hoping that he'll return to form sometime in the season, but you can probably stream someone better, so you can probably just cut him. Sad to say. Next quarterback is Justin Fields, who is looking even worse than Russell Wilson. He's not comfortable throwing downfield, and he's just not throwing at a volume that you'd want for a fantasy quarterback. He's not rushing as much as we thought he might be, not getting touchdowns. So very concerning. And the last one is Tom Brady, who is just having so many receiving and O-line issues, injuries, that he just doesn't have the help around him. The supporting cast isn't there. And it seems like he's also playing off a little bit, not up to his normal level. I know in the past he's had receivers that were not very talented and he's been fine, especially in New England. But it seems like as he's getting older, he's not able to compensate as much. So yeah, just not looking to start him anywhere right now. Now I'm going to start talking about running backs. The first running back I am panicking on is Ezekiel Elliott. The Cowboys offense doesn't look great for fantasy, but even when they do look great, Tony Pollard is taking reps. So Ezekiel Elliott is someone that I'm worried about. I'm worried that as the season goes on, he might start losing more reps. And we'll have to see, but I'm not looking forward to playing him in fantasy. If you can trade him, I would try to trade him because he doesn't really have that long-term upside. Next is Chase Edmonds, who is losing carries to Raheem Mostert. This is very concerning. I have him in a couple leagues, and I'm just very worried that he's not going to be that safe floor that I thought he was. Very worrying, and I'm going to take the L on that one as well, because sometimes you just don't know how these timeshares are going to look, and the Dolphins are clearly running a committee in the backfield. And on top of that, Chase Edmonds isn't looking good with his carries, so Raheem Mostert might start taking even more carries. The next is Travis Etienne, and James Robinson looks like he's back. He looks good, so it's not looking good for Travis Etienne. He's not looking good rushing, but he may be fine in PPR because he is still catching a lot of balls. That said, I'm still trying to find other options besides Travis Etienne. The next one is Rashad Penny. Seattle is just not moving the ball on offense well, and I'm just concerned about him. It seems like since Russell Wilson is gone, they're able to focus more on the run and really just shut him down. The last running back is Najee Harris. The offense is just not looking good in Pittsburgh. He still is decent in PPR leagues, but running the ball, it does, again, like Rashad Penny, seem like defenses are just trying to lock down the run and not letting him run. So I'm very concerned about that. At least you can still play him in PPR leagues and still have that floor, I guess, from those catches. Overall, though, I'm just worried right now about him. Now it's time for Ask Anissa, where I ask my wife Anissa a question about fantasy football, and she knows nothing about football. So, Anissa, which player are you more excited about?
Okay.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London, or Chris Olave?
Drake, for sure.
Drake?
Yeah. Drake London. That's a pretty solid name. Drake for sure, yeah.
Awesome. Now, let's talk about wide receivers. First is DK Metcalf. I don't trust Geno to throw downfield. I've already talked about this, that I don't trust Seattle to move the ball. And Lockett also seems like he's getting most of the targets. So DK Metcalf seems like an afterthought. I am really, really not looking forward to playing him. If you have any pivot options, I would pivot and try to trade him, maybe just because he does have those flashy plays from last year still in people's minds. But I am definitely trying to get rid of Metcalf if you can. The next one is Darnell Mooney. Again, I mentioned Fields earlier. He's not throwing downfield. He's not even throwing. He's barely throwing 10 passes a game, if even. And I'm just really worried about all the receiving targets in Chicago. The next is Kenny Golladay. He's not part of the winning game plan. He looks terrible as well. He's not the same player he was in Detroit, and I would just cut ties. He's someone you can cut. I don't think anyone's going to be wanting to trade for him, so yeah, you just kind of have to cut him and move on. It's sad. The next one is the Chiefs receivers. None of them are getting a huge target share. It does seem like more targets are going to the RBs, and it's really just disappointing. No one has stood out, been that safe floor. It doesn't seem like you can really trust anyone, even for a spot start in Kansas City. It's just really looking bad right now. So now I'm going to move on to the last category, and that is tight ends. First, I want to talk about Cole Kmet. Again, Justin Fields looks terrible, not throwing the ball, and therefore Cole Kmet's not getting any targets. I don't think he's playing rather well, but you can't really even tell when Justin Fields isn't throwing the ball. So hard to say. I am not starting Cole Kmet. I'm dropping him. Usually you can pick up another tight end that has some more upside. Next one is Dawson Knox. He doesn't seem like he's a part of the Bills' game plan right now. I'm sure as the season moves on, he might have a breakout game here or there, but I'm trying to find other options besides Dawson Knox because he's just not doing it right now. Noah Fant is also someone I'm worried about. He is, again, a product of Seahawks' bad offense overall, but Noah Fant just isn't getting the targets either to get that value you want. The last tight end I'm worried about is Albert O. I am not going to try to say his last name because I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce that. He is, again, a product of Wilson doing bad, but he's on top of that just too far down the target leaders, I guess. He's not one of the front runners in targets and just not getting thrown to, and that's very concerning. You would expect him to get a couple red zone targets in the near future, but again, they're not converting in the red zone, so I'm just worried about Albert O. So that will be all for this actually rather short episode. I did not expect it to last this short. However, I'm now going to get into your strong opinion of the day before I wrap it up. I believe quarterbacks do not have to be great at throwing the ball to be a great quarterback.